Vigor's leaderboard has been a point of contention for many since its first edition. The concepts to many is against what the game stands for, and while for others it is only a form of endgame content one can try and push for. This argument usually can sit in the background and not really be paid attention to by anyone. However, with more and more exploiters on the leaderboard, as well as the leaderboards going down more consistently, the argument has resurfaced, and some wonder if it's even worth it to continue support for the board if it's going to cause so many problems. In today's video, I will present both sides of the argument, so you may make a more informed decision on how to stand in this issue. So, without really any more delay, let's just get right into this video. So to start, let's address the pros of the leaderboard. These are pretty simple, so they really should go first. The largest pro of the leaderboard is that it is a form of endgame content. It is something to grind for. Whether that means you spend hours in the game to rise to the top, or you spend just enough to rise above your friends is completely up to you. But it is arguable that it is the largest and really only endgame grind in Vigor. And for a lot of people, that's the only thing keeping them playing the game. The second main pro to the leaderboard that a lot of people would argue for is that it recognizes those who put in hard work. Those who are at the top of the leaderboards have put in countless hours to reach the point they are at, and their hard work really should be recognized to a degree since, it kind of sucks when your hard work isn't recognized. Well, these are the only points I can make regarding the leaderboard in a positive nature, and it may seem that because of how little points there are that I am being biased against the leaderboard. I'd like to make the importance of these 2 points really stressed. The concept that some players only really play for the leaderboard is pretty important, and we really should be keeping that in mind when moving further in arguments. And just because my personal opinion doesn't match with this, doesn't mean I don't think they have an argument, and doesn't mean I think I'm trying to be biased here. And hopefully you guys are okay with how I'm presenting this. So let's transition over to the cons, which there's quite a large list of. Starting from the earliest criticisms of the leaderboard, it gives an answer to how you should play Vigor. Vigor is supposed to be a game that you can play in any style you want. This is something the devs have stressed hard since day one. However, with the leaderboard for kills and KPE, kill-based play styles quickly rose to the top of the priority, and it is these play styles that now dominate the game. Now, a counter could be offered of what about loot value, to which I'd say, what about it? The easiest way to get an extremely high loot value is to kill someone else and take their loot. And yes, there are some amazing looter strategies that can beat this out. But if you get shot with max loot 5 seconds before you leave that exit, the hunter type will take your entire loot value for their own stats. So basically making this stat worthless because hunter types can literally just leech onto it and steal it very easily. Pivoting back a bit, we can find the next main issue. The matrix used to determine kills in this game is KPE instead of KD. This decision heavily punishes passive players, as even if you have a great round and don't die and you walk out with piles of loot, your KPE will go down because you chose not to be aggressive. And on the topic of lack of aggression, the whole compassionate nature of letting noobs survive and working with randoms that existed heavily throughout the early days of Vigor is completely dead, I would say. If not completely, relatively dead as compared to what it used to be due to this forced aggression caused by the KPE value, and KPE is really the value, the stat that most people value. I wish I was done, but we can now turn to the issue of other people being able to see your stats. This problem is probably a lot easier to see as go onto Facebook or Reddit and you'll quickly find a post requiring X minimum KPE in order to become a duo with them. This believed greatness that many KPE players have in their skills it is in its nature toxic, as high aggression does not correlate to high skill in really any sense. These stats for piles of players are removed from their actual skill, either due to them having hundreds of rounds behind their belt, meaning they've been playing far longer than other players, allowing their stats to gain such a difference, or having loot values that were greatly inflated due to the duping situation, or on the matter of KPE, having much higher KPE values due to abusing the metas that ran so rampant in earlier updates. All of these problems really do raise the question of, do these stats actually mean anything at this point in time, since they've been diluted so much with just kind of garbage? Stats are also universal for duos and trios, which makes them even farther removed from being an actual measure of anything, as these modes play quite differently than solos, and their stats are going to look a lot different. They usually result in less kills due to the kills being split among the group, and more loot because you're in a group, so your chance of dying is less. And they don't show anything from shootout or EWM, which due to the lack of bringing weapons into these modes and the more gunfights that occur in these modes, would actually be much more accurate ways of measuring someone's skill, I would say. But you guys are probably going to attack me for that, which is fair, understandable. Saying the non-main modes are the better way of measuring skill than the main mode is a little bit controversial, and I can understand some clapback for that. The final thing to really be mentioned here is stats don't reset, which means those who have massive amounts of rounds of play can't really affect their KPE in a meaningful way or loot value without simply massive amounts of rounds, which is kind of, to a degree, why a lot of partners have lower KPEs. Yeah, I mean, because they played earlier rounds and got their KPEs lower back in the day. Now, I'm sure someone right now is writing up a fervent comment in which they're detailing a, flawless bug fix that could fix all of these problems. But we as a community tend to forget that doing such a thing of fixing this with a massive bug fix would require dev work. And depending on how many changes and fixes we put forward, a lot of dev work. And we like to complain when things are bad. We should complain when things are bad, I'd like to say. But we don't like to celebrate when things are fixed. Recently, we received the electronic update in 10.1. This fixed the jammers, portables, and transmitters. It was highly requested and demanded, yet I've heard little to no praise about it, despite this being something people on Facebook and Reddit complained about daily. So here I ask the question, if an update came out where its main feature was fixing the leaderboard and the broken system, would you be willing to applaud it despite that being the main feature? Or do you believe it's time we finally pull the plug on the decaying leaderboard? At the end of the day, it is your opinion. I have my own opinions on this, and I tried to not really express those opinions in this video. I hope this was an unbiased review of really the two sides of the leaderboard question. But until next video, everyone, this has been Chris Reese. I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time.